Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something that is incredibly fascinating, but honestly a little bit terrifying once you start noticing it. We're talking about mirroring. Specifically, we're going to unpack exactly why manipulative people mirror you, what they're actually trying to get out of it, and most importantly, how you can spot the difference between a genuine human connection and a calculated, fake reflection. Okay, let's just jump right in.
So picture this. You're sitting across from someone new, and almost immediately it just clicks. It feels like magic. They're using your exact phrases, they completely agree with all your obscure opinions, and when you get super excited about something, their energy just spikes to match yours perfectly. You get that incredible, warm glow of feeling utterly seen, right? They're finishing your sentences, it feels like you've literally found your soulmate or your new best friend.
But, and this is a really big but, when that little voice in your head says, wow, nobody has ever understood me like this before, I want you to hit the pause button. Because behavioral psychology research shows that this overwhelming feeling of a perfect match might actually be the most carefully constructed thing about this person. It could very well be a highly executed manipulation tactic.
To really get what's going on here, let's define what we're looking at. Mirroring is the deliberate act of reflecting someone's behavior, their language, and their interests right back at them. And why do they do it? To create this powerful, totally subconscious sense of similarity. And as we know, similarity is the absolute fast track to trust. But before we get into how toxic people weaponize this against you, we kind of have to look at where it comes from.
All right, moving into Section 1, the science of mirroring, from infancy to intention.
Now, mirroring isn't inherently evil. Actually, unconscious mirroring starts when we're literal infants. Babies mimic the body movements of the people around them, which relies on these things in the brain called mirror neurons. This is literally how human beings learn empathy. In social psychology, they sometimes call this the chameleon effect. If you think about it, back in prehistory, unconsciously mirroring the posture and facial expressions of your tribe was a massive survival tool. It's basically social glue. It smooths out our interactions and subconsciously signals, hey, we belong together.
And to put the power of this into perspective, look at this massive number right here, 55. Psychology tells us that physiology makes up a whopping 55% of all human communication. So when you're naturally in sync with a friend, your nervous system is processing millions of tiny bits of physical info. But a manipulator? They do this entirely on purpose. Next time you meet someone new, just watch their hands. If they touch their face a second after you do, or cross their arms exactly when you cross yours, it's probably not a coincidence. They can mirror your posture, your breathing, even the exact pace of your blinking, all to trick your unconscious brain into liking them.
And here is the real kicker. The reason this works so incredibly well is that being mirrored activates the exact same brain recognition centers as a genuine, deep connection. Literally, the exact same ones. To your brain, a calculated performance feels completely identical to meeting a true soulmate. That warm glow you feel happens way before your conscious logical mind even has a chance to step in and evaluate what's going on. Your defenses are completely bypassed.
Which brings us to Section 2, the motive. Gathering intelligence.
So what's the end game here? What is a manipulator actually trying to achieve by doing this? Well, based on recent usable privacy and security research, we can map this out into what's called a trap progression. Point 1, day 1, is the lure. Think sudden, intense focus on a dating app or unsolicited messages. Then, roughly between months 3 and 11, you hit the bond. This is the classic love bombing phase. They overwhelm you with affection and start heavily mirroring you. You're talking about your dreams, your fears, your childhood. But it's all a setup for point 3, years later, the exploitation. The mirroring you experience early on is strictly designed to lock you in.
See, while they're mirroring you, they're actually mapping you. Every time you think you're just having this beautiful, vulnerable moment with someone who finally gets you, they are quietly gathering intelligence. They're basically taking notes on your core values, your deepest fears, your secret desires. They're testing your boundaries and mapping out your emotional weak spots. And they just file all of that data away behind this mask of warm interest, fully intending to use it as leverage later on when they want control.
So why do they use mirroring out of all the tactics out there? Because it works. Absolutely. Similarity is the single fastest shortcut to trust that psychology has ever identified, period. It is unequivocally the most effective way to make someone drop their guard and trust you faster than they normally would.
Okay, let's jump to Section 3, spotting a fake reflection, the tell. Now, how do we actually tell the difference between a real friend and someone who's just playing a part?
The contrast is actually pretty stark once you know what to look for. Real connection, it's natural, it's mutual, and it originates from both people. But most importantly, real connection contains friction. People have their own minds, right? Deliberate mirroring, though, is just a one-sided performance. The manipulator only ever reflects. They never originate. They don't have any fixed opinions that stand firm against yours. It's just a creepy level of total compliance.
If you ever suspect this is happening to you, there is a brilliant, highly actionable field test you can run. We call it the fake preference test. Step 1. Just deliberately casually introduce a strong preference or an opinion that you don't actually hold. Step 2. Watch their immediate reaction. And Step 3. Check to see if they instantly adopt it without question. Like if you suddenly declare you absolutely love a band that you actually hate, and they immediately shift gears to match your new opinion perfectly with zero resistance, yeah, you've got a problem.
Because it really boils down to this perfectly stated idea. A real person pushes back sometimes, and a mirror never does. It's so true, isn't it? A complete and total lack of disagreement is not a sign that the stars have aligned and you've found your perfect match. It's a massive, waving red flag. Friction is the proof of reality.
All right, rounding out with Section 4, how to protect yourself, defense strategies, and risk levels.
So, what do you do when the light bulb goes off and you realize you're being mirrored? Let's build up your defensive toolkit. The best strategies live in the green, low-risk zone. First up is the gray rock method. This is where you intentionally become emotionally unresponsive and basically as boring as a gray rock. You're cutting off their emotional supply. Then there's no contact, which is exactly what it sounds like, cut them off completely. You can also use the BIFF method for communication. Keep it brief, informative, friendly, and firm. Moving into the medium, yellow zone, we have the bear method, where you actually confront their behavior and the results. But notice how the safest options all involve just stepping back and denying them the emotional reactions they so desperately want.
But whatever you do, please avoid these high-risk traps. Never try the mirroring defense, where you reflect their own cold, calculated behavior back at them. Actually, scratch that. Don't try to out-manipulate them or play their game at all. Thinking you can outsmart a manipulator on their own turf just massively increases your emotional exhaustion, creates a ton of cognitive dissonance, and ultimately keeps you tangled up in their web. They thrive on psychological chaos, and I promise you, you do not.
Instead of playing their games, you need to rely on your own internal radar. Step 1. Notice what your body is telling you. Seriously, your physical body often senses the fog of manipulation way before your rational, logical brain figures it out. If your stomach is in knots, listen to it. Step 2. Use strategic withdrawal. Take a pause, step away, and clear your head. And Step 3. Reconnect with your personal values. Manipulators absolutely hate it and struggle to operate when you are calm, grounded, and firmly anchored in your own self-worth.
I want to leave you all with one final thought today. Real connection has edges, and mirrors do not. A person who occasionally sees the world a little differently than you is infinitely more trustworthy than someone who only ever reflects exactly what you want to see. So, I have to ask you, does your relationship push back? Take some time to really think about the friction or the complete lack of it in your own closest connections. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep your radar sharp out there.